Hello and welcome to Supreme Commander Forge Alliance Forever. We are continuing our coverage of Swakkel's Spring Invitational. Still in the group stages here. And we have, well, one of the strongest groups, maybe the strongest group in the tournament here. And the two players we're looking at right now is Shinobu, that is a player better known perhaps as Yudi, in the pink Seraphim. And down here we have Tagada playing as Aeon in the red. So the map chosen by Tagada, he would have the higher seed. And it's Gateway and Roads. Quite a complicated map, quite a unique map. It's 20 by 20, but with quite a lot of water around the outsides, which is not, well, it's not exactly where a lot of the action is going to happen. So we have, well, the terrain is quite interesting, so let's just go through what's available, what can be accessed, what can't be accessed. So we start on this island here, which has, well, 6 mexes close to you, and a hydrocarbon, one over here next to some reclaim, one here next to the water, raidable by frigates is the idea. We have some islands around which are also raidable by frigates, and moving further away we can see that this pass here is blocked, so hover units can't simply come through here. You have to go around if you want to get to this island, or fly over. We have a plateau, we have some reclaim down here. This is simply a terrain feature. To the right we have first major expansion with again a hydro and 6 mexes on this island, and then further on another base, again separated by water, which is why perhaps we see both factions which have T1 hover. Obviously Cyber and UEF do not have T1 hover options. Aurora Aeon have the Aurora, and Seraphim have the Zui. So we also have the central landmass, which is the largest and with the most mass extractors. So we have these 3 mexes here, we have reclaim, a few more mexes in the middle and towards the sides to be fought over. There's also quite a small choke here and here, and then a couple of plateaus next to the middle as well. Those are not reachable through the middle, they have to be dropped by air units. So you can see there's a lot of complex terrain on this map, and this map has not been played a huge amount, so it will be quite interesting to see what kind of approach people go for. Tagada has gone for transport already. Yudi made 3 inties and the transport gets past without any trouble. Oh, no. This bomber looks to be flying directly over the civilian anti-air. There are 2 anti-air turrets on the map, and it looks like Yudi has found the exact path to this one. Actually, interesting to note that there's no radar. So, wow, even with no radar, the anti-air can still manage to take out the bomber. You can see it took a long time before the anti-air started shooting. Yudi looking to manufacture an air fight. He's chasing some inties, and that will be important if he can win a 4 versus 2 air fight. Oh no, what's happened here? He's changed his plan. He's actually turned around just as he was reaching the inties of Tagada. He has scouted and locked onto the transport as it makes its second journey, this time towards the plateau. It's not going to reach the plateau though, and Tagada executes a drop order, but it is not carried out in time. And Yudi gets the kill, but Yudi may, on the back end, lose air because of it. You can see him now splitting the inties so that they can't all be chased down at once. And he's doing pretty well to save some of them. And okay, he's changed his mind again. He almost flew into the anti-air there again, by the way. So Tagada has this base. He's got a hydrocarbon. He's grabbing the mexes now. He's gonna walk to this island with his commander. Finish off the hydro if it's not finished already. And Yudi perhaps started moving his inties in different directions there to avoid the transport getting found out. So you can see now the inties are just chasing all across the map. This is actually very good for Yudi. He's using 2 inties to lure 5 inties away from his transports, and he has multiple transports, so he's using this time extremely well. And who knows, maybe eventually he can actually save those. And look at that, he actually does save those 2 inties, which is quite nice, and successfully drops the middle as well as, oh no, he's not going to lose the transport. It has enough health to tank that anti-air. But yeah, he's dropped the middle, the plateau, he's dropped this base. Now he's investing in 2 factories immediately, which is quite the opposite of greed, and he actually doesn't manage to get through here somehow. Oh well, look at that. That's a nicely placed radar by Tagada. Enables him to actually spot the transport here. Kills it just before it lands. And now perhaps he can take that. Interesting to note that Tagada has quite a bit more reclaim than his opponent. So some of this reclaim is gone. This reclaim is gone also. Perhaps Yudi is just a bit slower. Yudi now trying to drop this side. It looks like both of them trying to drop it at a very similar time. Tagada is going to get there first. And his transport should be able to land before the inties can kill it. Yes, he does successfully land. Transport does not damage the engineer beneath it. Now we're going to have an engineer battle. So the NG is dropped next to Tagada's. Who will win? Oh, it looks like Tagada got there first. He did, and he survives with 2 HP. Bomber from Tagada takes out an engineer up here, but there's already a mex and a radar. The radar will go down next, which is not a bad kill for a bomber to get. The mex will take 4 passes to kill, however, with an Aeon bomber, so not likely to happen. And in fact, the bomber dies to an anti-air and an inti. And actually the inti almost dies on the way out, so... Okay, now we see why Yudi invested so much into... Well, he invested so quickly into the factories. He wasn't worried about the mexes. Wasn't worried about being greedy. He wanted to spam Zuis around this area towards the main island, where you can see Tagada actually has T2 Air, T2 Pigeon, multiple T2 mexes now. That's the 3rd one that is completed. Meanwhile, Yudi with still T1 Air. T2 Air is about halfway completed. And no T2 mexes as of yet. He has 2 just about halfway completed. So Tagada with the eco lead. Tagada with the tech lead. But Yudi with a lot of units. Now, unfortunately for Yudi, Tagada has frigates already. And the frigates just hard counter Zuis. This is the issue. This is a massive investment. Think of just how much mass he has. 1,200 mass here. Now you have to wonder whether any of these will do damage right now, because so far they haven't. So far they've been killed before they've made it to land. Here we have a Zui, which may kill an engineer. Guess what? It didn't. There's 2 frigates here. And as long as they keep microing, keep covering the space, then it's going to be really difficult to imagine any of these Zuis hitting anything useful. Meanwhile, Tagada with air control, with swift winds, and with gunships. He is attacking the commander. The commander's still looking very healthy. And there's T1 anti-air helping out. There's intis being sent in on basically a suicide mission to take out those gunships to protect the ACU. And also a lot of units sent in after Tagada. And those units not being very effective. Feeding a lot of veterancy to the ACU. Leaving plenty of reclaim, which Tagada can gather up once the threat has subsided, which it really looks like it already has. That's not a very good mercy there. Oh, gets shot by a T1 anti-air. T1 anti-air is extremely good versus mercies. Better than flak because it has higher muzzle velocity. So we have a lot of T2 air production from Tagada. He's going for a lot of T2 air, and he's also going for significant amounts of economic upgrades. So there's 2 mexes here upgrading, and there's 2 mexes here have just finished. So plenty of ecoing and plenty of T2 air. That's what Tagada is going for. Maybe a gun commander would basically, well, that would be the dream for Tagada now. If he could get the gun comm here, then there would be very little danger for him in the middle. This is where the danger lies, is in this comm on comm battle. And right now, you know, the Aurora and the commander are plenty capable. Oh, excellent shots there on the anti-air. They bunched up a little bit and kind of got marked by the gunships, but now ultimately that attack I don't think was effective. However, there's still just not enough going on here for Tagada really to be pushed away. He has plenty of production here in terms of T1 land. He also has a lot of mass available to him. Needs another PGen very, very rapidly, but he's not making one, so a bit unusual. Definitely I would be thinking he needs to make another PGen right about now. On the other side of the map we can see pretty effective raiding from the Aeon frigates. A little bit easier to raid with Aeon frigates because they have the extra range. But I think on this map the mass extractors are placed carefully so that frigates of all factions can hit them. Many gunships being built up. Perhaps a T2PD in this area would be good to keep the ACU at bay. Obviously, Aeon T2PD is going to be very poor versus, you know, the T1 units, well, especially the Zui, as it's going to overkill a huge amount. But versus the commander, it's extremely effective. Doing 600 damage per shot is very nice. No more Zuis pouring through in this area. They're all heading to the middle now, taking the long way around. There's not really an option for, well, I mean, drops would obviously be fantastic, but it seems like Yudi does not have that, isn't going for that option, doesn't trust that his drops could get through. Oh, this is going to be a very important airfight. It's almost entirely swift winds, and it's a very bad engagement for Tagada. Extremely bad engagement for Tagada, and his micro is still not great. It's at that point you really just fly away and try to repair the Swifties you have left, but he actually loses almost every Swiftie there. That was an awful battle. Now he does retreat the gunships, trying to save those as well, and at the same time, I mean, Tagada is much lower in HP. Now he has got the range gun, which is nice. He wants to get double gun, but you know, the beauty of Aeon is being able to get the gun upgrades one step at a time. Range first, almost always, followed by the speed upgrade. I think there's something to be said for getting the speed upgrade first, but range is generally what people go for. And well, this T2 land HQ suddenly seems very, very vulnerable. There's so many Zuis coming in, and the Zuis are so effective versus the Aurora, as well as the commander, as well as, you know, buildings like this. There's so much anti-air as well that it seems very unlikely that the gunships will be able to do very much. How many anti-air do we have? Oh my god. 28 anti-air. And now the HQ is going to die in mere seconds now that the Zuis have actually focused their fire on it. There goes the T2 land HQ. And there's also seems to be, well, T2 air, there's a Notha going around. The frigates, it's at this point that the frigate production should end, because it seems very unnecessary, totally unnecessary to continue making this many frigates. I mean, Tagada has invested so much, 17, that's 5,000 mass into frigates. He's denying many mexes. But at this point you have to wonder, is an extra frigate valuable at all? There's no contest in the water in terms of a naval presence, and really what Tagada needs is to defend his front line versus this commander. These anti are doing a huge amount of work, but even so, there's just so many swift winds that Yudi just cannot win air. What he can do is spam a lot of Zuis, barge his commander forward into Tagada, who has not been allowed to get the speed gun upgrade. And Tagada is going to have to retreat from middle. Middle is lost completely. A lot of these Swifties looking a bit slim on health. And Tagada will dip into the water. Now the thing is, I mean, well, yeah, there we go. T2BD coming up in the main island, because look, he's a stone's throw away from Tagada's main base where he has all of his power. That P-Gen has been hit by a Notha. And yeah, there's land production being replaced now. There are T1 bombers coming out to try and bomb the Zuis. Now the anti-air cannot cross the water, but the Zuis and the ACU can. Those bombers going to get absolutely shredded after a single pass, that's for sure. And yeah, Tagada is still making frigates. Okay, he's paused this production here. He is still making some frigates out of this factory. And yeah, Yudi making a bit of a good attempt at a comeback here. Bit of an air fight perhaps. This doesn't look like it'll go well for Yudi. He can retreat to the anti-air though. I mean, there is like 30 anti-airs here. And wow, that's a big lack of power. An ACU upgrade feels like it's essential at this point for Yudi. I mean, he's going to try and clean up some of the frigates to enable himself to get a bit more economy, because right now, you know, his eco is certainly lacking, unsurprising given how many mexes he is denied by the frigates. Oh, that's another really good fight. It just the power of the Swifties is just a look at how many you can get. It's, you know, it's the same thing with a Rhino versus a Mantis nearly. It's like you can have 5 Rhinos in the space where, and in the space where, you know, you can have 5 Mantis. So with the Swifty you can just build so many so quickly. You can really pump a lot of them out very quickly in comparison to how much, you know, build power you need to do that for interceptors. So it's very hard to match the production of Swifties with Inties. Some air staging would not go astray at all for a unit as healthy as a Swiftwind. The gunships are going to work. They're trying to deal with the frigates, get rid of them, get some X's back. They have succeeded partially, but also many gunships have been lost in the same fight. Yudi, although he has middle, is not taking some of the mexes that are available. This T2 radar could have been killed probably a long time ago. That's giving a lot of... You can see Tagada has a lot of vision on the map. He knows what's going on thanks to some very well placed radars and the radar from his frigates. Question is, how do you proceed? See, this is where this map is quite complicated. You have to wonder where both players go from here. For Yudi, I was thinking, you know, an AC upgrade, and yeah, T2 is the one I was thinking of, not the gun. T2. Tagada is making an upgrade. Now, is that shield or is it chrono is the question. He has double gun now. I mean, he has obviously got enough time, and he's taking another air fight. I don't know if this is a good one at all. This looks like a very, very bad air fight. Wow. Extremely bad air fight for Tagada. A lot of Swifties go down there, but again, another advantage of the Swifty is you can actually run away from Inties. In many other fights, Inti versus Inti, obviously they have the same speed, so unless you get the perfect turn away, it's difficult to retreat. But with a Swifty you can run. Now, running away directly into all the anti-air is obviously counterproductive. There goes 2 more Swifties. Oh, T2 drop. Finally the drops come in from Yudi. And there goes 3 T2 mexes, as quick as that. And that is very good damage from Yudi. Okay, some more counterattacks over here. Gunships moving in, raiding mass extractors. Yudi starts to spam more Zooies across this way. That's not going to work, however. There's actually still more damage that could be done by the frigates, but yeah, so it's such a huge amount of mexes that can be killed by frigates. It's kind of ridiculous. And those gunships will be taken out. Now, T2 land was replaced. And we have blazes now, we have some shields, we can also get hover flak. But, yeah, really, Yudi's army is not strong at all. He doesn't have the gun. Tagada has double gun and shield. Yudi has T2. He has basically anti-air. Some tanks. I mean, really very few tanks. 26 T1 tanks at this point. He has a huge amount of flak, huge amount of T1 anti-air, and he has a decent number of Zooies. But this is going to be versus a double gun com with shield, with blazes, with aurora, with a shield or 2. Mobile shields, that is. And it looks like Yudi may just die here already. This may be the end. After all this, it looks like Tagada's going to get the kill right now. And here come the gunships. Those aren't going to last. Yeah, they actually did get a shot away. Some of them, at least. And, yeah, Tagada's going to stay here and just take the kill. I mean, it looks scary on the surface, but ultimately this is almost entirely anti-air, so he really doesn't have much to fear, except getting stuck and the Zooies doing all the damage. But even then, he has units to back him up, and he can dodge. So, Yudi dropping to 700, 400, 300, 2, 1, 0. And Tagada takes the win. LOL from Yudi. Well, and you can see actually Tagada paused his entire base here to enable him to get more overcharges in. Very good idea. Oh my god. Accidental T3 mechs from Tagada. I missed that one. Also another T2 radar in the base. There's a lot of things draining his energy there. But yeah, accidental T3 mechs. Interesting. I wonder when he made that exactly. But yeah, that was interesting. I mean, the frigates did a good job. The Seraphim versus Aeon battle, well, it really does favor Seraphim. I think Yudi did well to push Tagada away, but maybe just wasted some time there. Maybe that time when he pushed Tagada off, that time was not used as effectively as it could have been. I mean, he didn't have the same resources available to him, thanks to the navy from Tagada. So it's, you know, he can do less in that same time than Tagada could, where Tagada retreated, still had, you know, he only really lost 3 mexes, so it's not a huge hit to his eco. It's just a a damage to his position, so he retreats and he gets upgrades. Replaces build power that he's lost, gets T2 again, and, you know, comes back stronger, whereas Yudi ultimately, well, at that point when he pushes Tagada off, he has to probably do a lot of damage in different areas, maybe get some damage in on the base very quickly, just to pull back to level, even though he's pushed Tagada away from the middle. So a good win from Tagada there. So let's move on to game 2 in this best of 3 very quickly and see what map was selected. So that would have been Tagada's choice of map. Now we can open up game number 2, which is actually a map gen map by the looks of it. So a random, pseudo-random map, I guess, is what you call it. A generated map. Now the question is whether it's 10 by 10 or 20 by 20, because both are options. So it's 10 by 10, and look at this. That is an interesting map. So we got a huge body of water in the middle. We have very tiny lanes, but the players are actually connected by land. So they're not separated from each other. You can see that that is traversable. Same here, of course. And there's a lot of mass extractors. So a bit of reclaim available, several bases, and this well, it looks like it's going to be a naval battle. Don't really see another option. I mean, yes, you can get to the enemy through the land, but surely Navy is going to be the kingmaker here. This base obviously vulnerable to T2 Navy. This is what you have to look for. Is, you know, what will die if T2 Navy comes out? What will be denied? And it looks like this base, obviously. This base also is killable by T2. This mechs, this mechs. This potentially as well. And maybe not this base, but yeah, if you have T2 Navy, you're going to control almost the entire map. So that's going to be, that seems like the most likely game ender. So the battle will be fierce on T1, but first the task is to get all of these bases. That is task number 1. The Yudi is up here playing UEF. Not sure why is UEF. UEF would not have been my choice on this map, so it's an interesting one. UEF not generally the faction of choice on a map which is primarily about the navy, because although UEF has a very strong navy in terms of T3, they are probably the least favored at T1 and T2. They have an unremarkable frigate and a destroyer which is weak to well, which doesn't have huge range and also is weak to torpedoes. Tagada walking forward to the water. The advantage of having your ACU at the shore is that obviously engineers are extremely vulnerable to all kinds of attacks, whereas the ACU is not and can continue to rebuild naval production. So it's much safer to have your commander do the naval production than it is to have simply just engineers do it, as again they are very vulnerable. And especially, you know, Cybern and UEF engineers, because they sit on the water, they can even be killed by T1 subs. They can be killed by frigates, bombers. So it's better to have your ACU doing it. Now, Tagada on the other hand, well, yeah, he's not actually going to build naval production. He wants to walk all the way across the map, which seems pretty risky. There's also nothing to actually kill right next to the water. Except this one mech, which is not next to the beach, it's next to a cliff. So this seems a little bit risky. Yudi is walking across the map to this expansion, which actually makes more sense to me than walking towards here. Now, I guess Tagada, well, really, he wants to reclaim the naval factories. That's what he wants to do. It's not about what's on the shore, it's about what's in the water. So that's his plan. Build your production at home and reclaim the enemy's production at their side. So Tagada already ahead in the navy. 2 factories versus 1. 2 factories versus 0 there for a while. In terms of expansion, Yudi has more total mass, similar reclaim, and he looks to be certainly ahead on his expansion. There's no transport yet for Tagada. He's building his now, whereas Yudi has already, I think, dropped both of these locations. Maybe he dropped this as well, and now he's dropped the left side as well. So very quick expansion from Yudi, and quick expansion wins games in my experience. Yudi also just finishing at T2 mechs now. It's at 90%, but Yudi way behind in navy, and he's going to lose this factory to the commander as well if it's not lost to, well, this factory will be lost to frigates, but I think the AC will get there first, basically. Tagada walking to the left side and now dropping the right hand side. But you can see Yudi already has every mech on his side of the map, barring this one. And that means more mass available to him. Now, how's he going to use that? Is the next question, because he's not building navy, which obviously is an unusual decision. Tagada seems to be playing the map as you'd expect in terms of, you know, his aim. So obviously air is going to be important, but navy presumably more so. But Tagada just, well, Yudi seems to just be, well, he has an additional air factory and he's upgrading mexes. He must be floating mass. Yeah, he is. He is gonna lose this factory. Might get another frigate out of it before it dies, but yeah, now the ACU arrives. He may not even get this frigate out, will he? Yeah, he does. Bomber from Tagada being a little bit annoying. A single mantis as well helping out. And Yudi takes this expansion with his commander. Oh, not only that, he takes a mech on the side as well. Let's just get a factory up here and be annoying. Send some units in this direction. Tagada with 1 T2 mechs in his base. This factory is going to be quite annoying, actually. There's no defenses, there's no radar, there's no knowledge of what's going on here, so those units are going to do a bit of damage. Yudi has T2 air right now. Tagada is going T2 air right now, 50%, and he's also going T2 navy. That's going to be expensive for him. Yep, he does not have the power to do this, and navy is quite cheap in terms of power. If you look at this, -9 mass, -47 power. It's very low energy investment to make navy, much lower than air, of course, and it's lower than land. This T2 air factory, -7 mass. That's less than the naval factory, and then -156 power. So much more energy intensive upgrade. For some reason Yudi has not built these mexes. I think he's scared of perhaps submarines, but even then, I mean, that doesn't really make too much sense to me, because this is all beach, so he can always, if there are subs, he can leave the water. There is a sub actually coming towards him. Here come the tanks. They've positioned themselves directly between the bases, unfortunately. T2 Pigeon being built quickly. And Yudi is making Janus. He already has his T2 Pigeon. And let's see the air numbers. Tagada with 16. Yudi surely has more than that. Yeah, 27. And Janus now under construction. He has his first one. He has 4 T2 mexes here. 5 T2 mexes. And more on the way in different positions. So Tagada has also taken this expansion, built a factory. And actually, yeah, Yudi chose the better position to build the factory. Now Tagada's going to copy him. Building it up here makes more sense. Direct access to these mexes rather than having to drive around. There's also a drop of tanks and 1 Lobo, which has gone off map, and so it will be put back on the map. Tagada losing expansions to tanks here. And yeah, this factory doing amazing work. And here come the Janus. Janus moving towards Tagada's base. There's a lot of Intis, a lot of Janus. Tagada says wait, I don't know why. And here come the Janus, and they're going to be hitting, well, what are they hitting actually? That's a weird choice. He goes after T1 Pigeons, and Tagada tries to kill them. He actually doesn't manage to kill any of the 3 Janus there. 2 of them drop very low. And now, oh my god, the build power around the T2 Navy is dead. Tagada has completely lost air. And now the Janus return and begin bombing the factory. The T2 HQ and the T2 Pigeon at the same time. And the anti-air turret, you can see they're not exactly doing a whole lot of damage versus the anti-air turrets. They're doing massive damage, in fact, to the Intis and the Janus. But finally they will go down. The T2 Pigeon is dead. And all that's left to kill is the HQ. Most of the Janus have died now. This drop has landed, but there's actually units already here. And that is just massive damage. If the HQ could be killed, it would almost definitely be game over. Looks like there's a lot of T1 land being made here by Tagada. The problem is he can never, like, how do you regain air control here? He doesn't, he has, well, actually he does have a T2 NG, but he's gonna have to replace T1 power before he moves to T2. I mean, look at he's lost a lot of T1 power as well as T2, so. And what good is the Navy to him right now? I mean, these gunships are doing more than the Navy is doing for him at this point. Janus move out across the map, and they're just going to try and clean everything up. Clean up this expansion, take it back. This is dead. Oh my god, 416 mass kill from this Lobo. Fully vetted. And everything is dead here, all those expansions are dead. Finally this base, this single factory, which constitutes this base, will be killed. And Yudi has 9 Janus now. Huge investment into the Janus, but it makes perfect sense. I mean, he's killed the T2 Pigeon. Look how far, like, he's not even close to replacing the Pigeon yet. So, it's, you know, there's nothing Tagada can do well against this air right now. And Yudi is just bombing everything. Excessively, in fact. That's a bit extreme of a bombing run there on some T1 mexes. More mexes under attack. Janus not really the greatest tool for killing such small structures, but they do the job once you have 9 or 10 of them, that's for sure. Oh my god, he's got, what, a dozen now? So many T2 mexes as well for Yudi. And, I mean, what can you do? It's just snowballing the Airwin into an absolute crush. And it feels like this was Yudi's plan from the get-go. He was not investing in Navy much at all. This was always the idea. Look at that. And even at that, it doesn't kill the factory, by the way. Just want to note that. And now he comes in after the main base. He's going to sacrifice a lot of Janus to get this bombing run down. And that's a lot of dead T1P gens. The T2 are still alive though. Some anti-air went down, but that was a not exactly cost efficient bombing run there, I would say, but given he's so ahead, it doesn't even matter. Tagada calls the GG. There's not really much for him to do. There goes the T2P gen. He really has nothing at this point compared to what Yudi has. I mean, look at all the economy Yudi has. Tagada missing many mexes and really has no chance to defend these positions without a big investment in anti-air. Static anti-air, I would say. The mobile anti-air just does not have the health to withstand. Whereas the static anti-air is extremely effective. You can see just the damage some of these have done. Now building them next to each other is not the most effective way of building them against Janus, but yeah, good. Well, just a counter strategy from Yudi against what Tagada was doing. Tagada was playing, you know, like what you would expect people to do on this map, which is to, you know, win the naval game and go T2 Navy and dominate the whole map. Whereas Yudi, faster expansion, better build basically, and then into T2 Air instead of, you know, thinking about, you know, he built one naval factory. That's a lot of mass saved compared to 5 naval factories, one of them almost a T2. And this investment ultimately never paid off for Tagada, and he was dead before it could. So nice game from Yudi, winning with Janus, and he takes it to a decider. And I'm looking at the replay, and it's titled interestingly, Yudi, no Janus, please. So obviously this game had something of an effect on Tagada. He wasn't happy losing in this fashion. So let's see if he can gather himself and take the series 2-1, or will he be swept, reverse swept by Yudi. Reverse sweep is not so impressive when it's only a best of 3, I guess. It's just winning 2 games in a row, but still, it still counts. So the map. Sweepwing Sanctum. 10x10 map. Quite a bit of dead space on the outsides, so it's important to note that, because that essentially means the map is smaller than this number will tell you. Also the fact that this area here on the sides is also not really a part of the playable area in terms of where you're going to send any large number of units. You're not going to send 20 units up onto this plateau. So you can also cut that off in terms of the main playable area. And you're left with this here, basically. So obviously these are like hollows. They're plateaus, lowered plateaus. So you really have this area here. So the map is quite small and there's a lot of mass. So it plays closer to, well, it plays very, very spammy, basically. That's what I'm getting at. Spam, spam, spam. And also quite, well, build heavy, given the reclaim in the middle and also reclaim on the sides. And most of the mass is in the middle of the map as well. So this is, it basically is a very, very spammy map. And so let's look at Yudi. He's UEF once again. And going for Janus on this map, very unlikely to work. Maybe he'll go for it again just because, you know, memes or something. But I don't expect something like Janus to work twice in a row on a map like this. Maybe a different map. It may be possible. Tagada going for second land, third air, and sending his ACU to the middle to take the reclaim. And also some mass. In terms of a mass extractor, Yudi trying to take mid reclaim with an NG. That's going to mean he's going to get less of it. So Yudi will head... Well, actually, I can't see the orders for this guy. Okay, he's going over here to take this reclaim. And then he will carry on to, I assume, unless these are different orders, which who knows. Oh, they actually are different orders. So he may not be heading in that direction. Second air for Yudi. Not exactly a good build here, to be honest. Not at all a good build. Overflowing mass. And has 800 mass in the bank. This is not good. 4 factories for Tagada now. Told you this was a build heavy map. 3 land factories and an air factory. Meanwhile, Yudi has, well, now he has 3 land factories and an air factory. And yet he still has mass in the bank, so interesting there. His factories were slower, which means I guess those factories, when they're not built, they're not spending your mass, so that's why he has also some mass in storage once they're done a bit later. And now Yudi gets raided in this very important position. 2 mexes go down and an NG. The NG that was reclaiming here moved to the right to attempt to take some mexes and reclaim, but was also raided. So these tanks from Tagada have done a very good job. And the second land essentially pays off thanks to this. Now a bomber from Tagada from his 3rd air factory gets another important kill. This expansion is denied, or well, 2/3 of it is. I'm not sure where that bomber's going now. But Tagada also got a kill on an Inti. Looks like a free kill. As that Inti has 50 mass killed and a kill and no damage taken. Yudi says looking good. He already realizes that, you know, he's in a bad position. He's stalling energy. He's been raided on both sides of the map. He has not gotten most of the mid-mass. And yeah, wow, he's actually going to get bombed here and lose 2 more NGs in the base as well as losing an Inti. He is in a bad position and he recognizes it. Question is, how do you come back? And that's a difficult one. A very difficult one, especially when some trades like this happen. Lost 3 tanks to the ACU, lost a couple tanks here in bad trades. And this looks very dangerous already. I mean, Yudi has no units in support. He's losing fights on the other side. And he's outnumbered on this side. So, looking very bad for Yudi right now. 3, 6, 7 land factories in the base for Tagada. And 6 for Yudi. He is making a T2 air factory, however. Bomber comes in and raids this NG. That was taking the mexes and also attacks the tank that's here and contributes to it dying. Tagada getting a very nice fight on the other side, and he's going to run over this position completely with his thams. No PD in this position. Because it was raided already, there's basically no time to actually construct a PD here, which would have protected against these thams. As it is, Yudi loses the fight, loses the expansion, and Tagada simply retreats. No point in actually hanging around, really. It only gives your opponent a chance to counterattack, get a good trade potentially, because they have the defender's advantage, and then you deposit mass. So better just to raid, retreat, and hold on to your own forward position here. Tagada taking this reclaim, expanding here, taking some reclaim as well. And Yudi has no mexes on this arm at all. That's a T2 transport, and Yudi's going for a ghetto gunship. Maybe, well, probably multiple ghetto gunships is what Yudi's going to go for. Let's look at his economy. He has very little mass, 15 mass available. This is what I mean by most of the mass being on the map. He's actually lost every single thing that's outside of his base, leaving him with 15 mass. That's it. 7 mexes plus 1 from the ACU, that's 15. He's lost 2, 4 here. He doesn't have these, which is actually, well, that's his fault really, more so than anything Tagada has done. Tagada's only taking his now though, however. But the ghettos are coming. Tagada is building anti-air. He recognizes that there's T2 air. And I don't know if he's seen the T2 transport or if he's seen labs, but he's at least seen T2 air, and he's building anti-air right now. Few inties are close by. He really needs more power. He's messed up power wise, which is why he has to pause his air factory. And here come the ghettos. Here come the ghettos, but they're dying. There goes one ghetto. One mech marine survives and lands. But Tagada is not going to die to this. There's just not enough. I think maybe 4 ghettos would have been needed there. Perhaps the anti-airs should have been targeted. I'm not sure though. It's difficult to say. If there's really any scenario where those 2 ghettos can kill the ACU. It seems very unlikely. At least 1 more ghetto was needed, but again, look, there's no time for another ghetto basically, as Yudi's already getting completely overrun. And now Yudi's just going to try and build the transport and probably get on it with his ACU. I imagine that's what he's going to do. How do I know that? Because what else could he do except get on a transport and attempt to land? The anti-air takes him out. The same anti-air that killed the ghettos. And Tagada wins 2-1 in this best of 3 series. So quite a nice series. Game 2 especially was interesting. Yudi really outplayed Tagada in game 2, but Tagada was pretty convincing in game 1 and 3. Especially this game, Tagada just was better just right out the gate in this map, but game 1 was a bit more back and forth, that's for sure. So anyway, that's it for this series. Tagada wins in this group, and thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out the links in the description, and I'll see you all next time.